So this is my thread program here. Starting with the include statements, I included the needed, I guess, libraries for the thread. Well, I also included the string and IOStream libraries, as I'm going to be using a string here, and also the just std_cout here to print that, as I'd rather just use that than mess with the fprint. So moving on down, I have creating the shape string here. So this is used to store the image I'm going to be creating in my thread function here, which is titled man in house. So this is the, once again, the function that's going to be run by the thread as it is input here, man in house. And all the different checks are going to be done and should pop up here. So I have this variable dupper, which is being pulled from the parameter, and that can be set in here, right here, command arguments. As you can see, it is set to 10 currently, and that is significant, and I will be trying different ones in a few minutes. So basically, I have recommended a number for it to be greater than 7 and less than 15. As we will see, we want it to be within those parameters, as I have a few checks here as to why. Moving to this variable here, this is I. Instead of having it within the for loop here, I have it outside, as I'm going to be using it for this first loop for loop and also for these size checking statements here. So that is why it is outside. Moving to this for loop here, this is going to determine the rows, as the image I'm going to be creating is a house. And these two for loops here are going to be creating the actual roof size, and that's going to be using this upper variable here, determining the columns and rows. So it's going to be using this upper here, determining how many rows the roof will have, and I have a nested for loop here that is set equal to I, so it starts off big and will go down to 0 as it subtracts. So as the I increases, the j will increase as well, and we'll start off, of course, higher. So I have this here, which is the shape string. Once again, it is I'm adding asterisks here to create the actual image of the roof, which we will see here in a minute when I run it. So one thing to keep in mind is this for loop here is going to be creating each row, while this creates each column length for the roof. So it's going to be creating sort of a triangle. Outside of this for loop here, coming out, I have a new line here, just making sure we create that triangle sort of image. Right here, in the shape, we can see there's just a few random symbols here. This is creating the man that is going to be inside the house, along with the ending walls. So you can see his head's kind of here. I have a little asterisk here, and here, here, and here, creating the wall. I have his little body there, sort of a middle section, and his legs right here. And this is all just sort of being used to format and added to the end of shape. Here we have our checking conditions to make sure that I, once again, it is set to 0, but will eventually increase till it is the same size as upper. So I'm making sure that it is not, well, this method is making sure that, or checking, or not method, but this if statement is checking to see if it is less than 7, which is not good, because the man's roof will not be big enough. But if the roof is bigger, or the I is bigger than 15, then the roof is going to be too big. And we have this else here. If it is smaller than 15 and larger than 7, then the man is going to be happy in his house. As the reason why I chose 7 is because anything like less than 7, the roof will not connect to the wall, so it will not be big enough. And I chose 15 as sort of a magic number, as that's whenever it starts to get a bit too big for the outside wall. All right, and I return 0 here, signaling that there was success and that everything worked appropriately. This is sort of my main. We can see the only thing I sort of added down here is I have my shape being outputted, which you can see right there. And I have an else statement checking to see, or making sure that the thread handle is not, or is, if it is null, then it will throw this error here saying the thread handle was null. So I'm going to go ahead and run this for you. Once again, the thread is going to be running man in house, so it should be running this section here. All right, and this is the image that we get. Once again, I will show you that it is set to 10 right now, and we can verify that here by the length, or the number of rows here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As we have 10 here, we can see that this creates sort of that triangle half roof, and we have our wall and our man, and the man is happy in his house. Now, I will go ahead and close that, and I'll show you what happens when we do a roof that is too small. So we'll do 5 here. And we can see that the corners do not connect, so the man's roof is not big enough. And then we'll do one final really big roof. Let's do 50. Let's do that, and there we go. We get a really big roof. So it says the man's roof is too big. As you can see, it's a little bit awkward. I don't think he needs that much roof for his little house.